I'm just one entrepreneur among millions out there. And all I'm going to do is just give you a snapshot view of my life and my successes. And, if you bring up 10 different entrepreneurs, you're going to get 10 different stories. But we all share some basic values and some real simple guidelines to success. And for some reason, failure has something to do with all of us. So anybody you talk to that's an entrepreneur or serial entrepreneur, as they call a lot of us, they've experienced failure in the past. I'll move into that later on. But yes, thank you, Tim. I met Tim a couple months ago in a networking function, and we've become very close friends, and I appreciate this opportunity. I've been very blessed in life, and since I created my company a little under 2 years ago, I've had the opportunity just to really give back through mentoring, which I do a lot of, and I enjoy it. I have an angel solution program, which is sort of like the Shark Tank thing, but it's my own little angel program. Having fun with that, trying to find the right fit for me and a partner that I'm going to get very involved with. And then I have advisory services that I perform hourly and contractually on a monthly basis. And it's my little world, and it's just my own little way of helping small business owners out and entrepreneurs. And it's a real simple concept of what I put together. Actually, this company, this is my third chapter of my life. I've retired already twice. When I built up this company, and it's a great success story, and you'll see a little bit more about it as I go through the presentation, that was my first retirement. I was kind of forced to retire at 47 and by Pitney Bowes. And after that, I met up with some folks out in Southern California where our primary residence is, near Palm Springs. And they said, well, you have nothing to do. Let's take over a restaurant because we are restaurant people and you can do the sales and marketing and we'll run it. I said, fine. So I invested in that, and after I retired in 2004, we took over this restaurant in 2006. All I did was sales and marketing. Took it from 1.7 million to 2.3 million. Mexican restaurant, never ate Mexican food, don't eat Mexican food. And from what I understand, I said, so I get wine at wholesale. They go, absolutely, you own a restaurant. You can get whatever you want wholesale. I said, fine, I'm in. So, but we were very successful, and just about 2 years ago, I sold my shares back to my partner, and I'm sitting there with my wife at age 56. I said, what do I do now? I've retired twice. I need something to do. I have no story. I have no business card. I need something to talk about and something to do. She goes, well, create a business, talk to people, charge them if you want, mentor, and try to find a couple companies you can invest in so you can stay busy for the rest of your life. So that's what I did. I created the solution based on 3 TV shows, actually. Restaurant Impossible, because at the time I really believed I was quite the experienced restaurateur after 7 years of owning that restaurant. The Profit that you see on CNBC, Marcus Lemonis, I said I can do what he can do. And then somebody said when I went to try to buy out their company, they said, if you watch Shark Tank, you're one of those guys. So I took those 3 TV shows and created a company based on those concepts. I have this on the screen as an opening because I wanted to make sure everybody understood really what entrepreneur is, which I've always defined it as living on the edge, but with confidence. I find that every time I get into a company, and I've created many of them, not on the larger scale as the one you're seeing on the screen. I was very fortunate and very blessed to be able to create a $21 million company, but I've always said, we live on the edge as entrepreneurs. And every time I get comfortable and get further from the edge is when I personally get uncomfortable and want to get out and get back to the edge. So some of you are thinking about being an entrepreneur, starting up a business. It's good that you throw yourself into it, get involved, and keep it for a long time. I just find myself after about 5 or 7 years or so getting too comfortable, and I just want to get out, get something else going, and go back to the edge because I enjoy living right on the edge. So that's how I phrase being an entrepreneur, is living on the edge, but with confidence. The story is a good story. It's a story that's been written up in a lot of newspapers here in Chicago. I've received several awards for it back when I started the company. International mail competing with the United States Post Office. The industry was broken up in 1984 by Edwin Meese, the Attorney General, and Ronald Reagan. They allowed people to pick up mail and send it overseas and up to Canada, cheaper and faster United States Post Office. I had one customer at the time in Waukesha, and I said, well, let's put together a business. We'll take your client's mail. I'll come up to Waukesha, sort it out, put foreign postage on it, give it back to the company I used to work for. And that's what I did. Drove up to Waukesha every day for 2 years, sorted his mail, brought it down, handed off the company I used to work for, and understood how to make a profit, and we grew and grew and grew it. Short and long, I had 130 employees, built up a $20 million company, and about 60,000 square feet. And at the end of the day, Pitney Bowes said, the good news is the company doesn't need you, because I only had 2 people answering to me. The bad news is we don't need you. So once the money was wired, they said, we don't ever want to see you, get out of email, and never talk to anybody in the industry. So I was very fortunate at 47 just to walk away with no employment agreement. This is the day in the life of an entrepreneur, in case you're not aware of what to expect, or you're experiencing it now. And I still experience this, and I go to this slide every time I'm having a miserable day or think that it's a waste of time and I should just go back on the employment side. I like this slide. It gets a lot of hits when I publish it on my business social media pages. And it is very stressful, and it reveals a lot of insecurities once you become an entrepreneur. So, if you take this in, because if you know someone that's in a small business or running a small business or want to do a startup, they will live this life, and you will live it. And I know you live it as an entrepreneur once you left the real world. And we wake up one morning and go, I was wrong, I suck. And then you feel the next day everything is good. And then you talk to your wife or your girlfriend or your partner, and then you just go up and down. So I put that up there. It means a lot to a lot of people. I talked about failure early on. We all experience failure. The image on the left is how I look at it, and I get a lot of hits when I post this, because I don't fail. I just figure out what doesn't work in my business model or in my life. I like the line, failure is not an option. I think that was The Right Stuff, the movie The Right Stuff. That's been my favorite line since then. And I don't believe I've ever failed. I don't use that word. I'm not lucky. I don't play the lottery. As I get into it, I'll show you I've been very blessed. So failure is really not an option. I just see what doesn't work. The image on the right is, you see that so often because people don't have a business plan. They don't have an idea of how they're going to get to the end result and how they're actually going to exit the organization they built up. So a lot of people do get out early. I had the restaurant. The advice of my lawyer and my accountant was, do not put that money into a restaurant. And because I don't make a move without my accountant and my attorney. That's the way I am in life. And they both said, because I put in $220,000 into it's one of the largest Mexican restaurants out in the Coachella Valley. And they said, David, it'll fail. I said, it's been around 30 years. Once I heard the markup on a margarita, I said, so it costs about 65 cents and we're charging $6.95 to $14. Yes, I'm in. But it was an interesting concept, and we got our return. I got my return back in 3 years. We were very fortunate. I was very aggressive on sales and marketing. But if you feel like you failed, you really haven't. You just haven't figured out what it takes to keep on moving. This book, Think and Grow Rich, was my inspiration. It was handed to me back in when I was with a company here in Chicago. Back in the early 83 is when I moved here from Washington, D.C. Somebody handed me this book, and I read it pretty much every month, and I reread it every 6 months. It's It's by Napoleon Hill. It was written back in the 60s. And this was really the inspiration for me, and it was the basis of the foundation of my success in life, because it talks about everything from faith to sex to desire to drive to masterminding, and that's so important. And I think Tim has recognized, like I have, masterminding, surrounding yourself by people that allow you to move, everyone to move forward successfully. Back in the day, you had the tire manufacturers coming together, the car manufacturers coming together and creating an industry. So that's why I think it's important that you understand and you find a book or find some inspiration, motivation somewhere in your life, whether it be through a mentor, whether it be through a book, whether it be through a TV show. It really doesn't matter, but try to seek inspiration. When I started my first company back in '86, it was with my fiance's $500 that she gave me. I quit my job. I met my fiance at 1120 North LaSalle at the pool upstairs on 4th of July weekend. Asked her to marry me August 28th. Quit my job in October. And November 15th, on my 14th on my birthday, she gave me the $500 to start the company because I didn't have a pot to pee in. I turned in my car. I was in the debt up to here. And she goes, so let me understand this. I just said yes to your proposal. You're quitting your job, and I have to give you $500 to start a new business. I said yes. So I took my check, went up to Waukesha, Wisconsin. My other partner put in the $500. I said, I'm in. Let's do it. Created a business card. It said David Rosenberg, president. Had no employees, and people made fun of me because they said, president of what? You're by yourself. I said, one day it'll be something. But I started off small. I had my little trade show booth. And that was my first booth. Had my suspenders back in the day. We were all wearing suspenders. That was my desk. That was my briefcase. I had a chair. That was pretty much it, and had one employee. My suggestion is you start off small. Keep it simple. Develop a nice family environment among your employees. But always, and this is what I did, I just projected myself as a large entity, a large company. I wanted to make sure my competition and the public thought I was a huge competitor within an industry that was growing. And I really believe that. I treated employees like they were part of the family, and it was a family. The tag you're it principle is something I created, and I think you should pick up on that. That's a good takeaway. As you become an entrepreneur, or you are an entrepreneur, you're running a small business, it's important that you hand off tasks and delegate tasks to other people. I started hiring people to do the stuff I didn't want to do anymore. I called it the tag you're it. When I interviewed people and hired them, I touched them, I said, tag you're it. And I go, what do you mean? Well, it means I'm not going to do this anymore. You're going to do it. Good. And then one day you're going to touch somebody and say, tag you're it, because you're going to be a manager, and you're going to manage them, and I'm going to teach you how to manage. So the tag you're it principle really allows you to move up to the level of executive leadership and provide the executive the motivation and the inspiration and continue on your business plan. And if you keep on hiring people and touching them and saying tag you're it, then you can pull yourself away from metering the mail as it was going through the Pitney Bowes machine or driving to Waukesha every day. So we moved the facility down to Elk Grove Village, and I started hiring more people to do the accounting and to do the warehouse functions. And then I brought on a new partner, and he put in $75,000 to become a 50-50 partner. And I did sell half my company for $75,000 to somebody that I knew from a previous company, and he grew the company with me. But the tag you're it principle, and it's important you see that Jack Welch developed GE, because this is one of his favorite lines he uses. He was not the smartest one in the conference room. He was never the smartest one in the room. Don't ever try to be the smartest one in the room. Hire people that are much smarter than you. And that's what I did after I started hiring people to do the stuff I didn't want to do. I started hiring people that were smarter than me in various aspects of the company. So I started hiring people to do accounts receivable, accounts payable. I started hiring people to analyze the costing of the jobs. I eventually got a CPA on board. And bottom line was, at the end of the day, I had my vice president of operations and CPA answering to me, and senior staff below them. Work less and make more, that's a good takeaway, and people don't understand that concept, but it really works. The idea is if you can apply the tag your principle, if you can hire people to do the stuff you don't want to do, or to do the things that they could do better than you, then your time is more valuable, and you're literally working less. And even if you're making the same amount of money, you're making more, because you're not working as hard, you're not putting in all these hours. So if you're making $80,000 or $100,000 a year owning this business, and you have other people working for you, and you're still just making $80,000, $100,000 a year, you are making more because you're actually working less. This is a concept people don't believe it's possible, but that should be your goal, is to work less and make more. Try it. It really does work. Part of the success that I've had, not only with the previous life in the international mail business, and that was an exciting time, and we got into it just as the industry was developing, and I was the largest in the Midwest of what we did. The key, one of the keys, a very significant key to my success, was the employees. When you start hiring people, treat them like family. People were not leaving me. Two things I could brag about: employees never left me, and my clients never left me. And that was a tremendous compliment to the way I was leading the company. Similar to the restaurant, no one left us. And I had a couple other companies that no one left me. I set up anniversary dollars. One of my employees sent this to me, and I captured it, and I used this in my presentation. Every year, starting at our 5-year anniversary, every employee would get $1 for every year we're in business. So I literally created an envelope, and I made someone go to the bank and get fresh dollar bills, and we put an envelope with a letter from me and my partner saying another year has gone by. Here's $6, here's $7, here's $8, all the way up to the year we sold. So the last envelope everybody got was $19, and we gave out that. We also set up employee paid birthdays. I always took care of my employees. I said, take the day off. We'll pay you to take the day off. Enjoy it. Call your parents. Thank them for having you. Thank your creator, and enjoy the day off. And that, I don't see that nowadays. We, like anyone else, we created the management benefit packages. We had the summer picnics and the holiday parties, which was important. Something I set up because people would never leave me. My employees stayed with me for a long, long time. I set up a 2-year anniversary club, a 5-year anniversary club. At 10 years, Human Resources came to me and said, David, we have about a dozen of us that's been with you 10 years. Can you set up another club? Well, what do you want now? So we set up a 10-year anniversary club with, giving away this, giving away that. And then at 15 years, HR comes to me again and says, well, we have a half a dozen of us that are 15 years hanging with you. What would you like to do? I said, what do you want now? I mean, enough is enough. I mean, I know you guys love me and all that, and you're enjoying your job. But so we ended up giving everyone that's in that group all expense paid round trip in continental United States, round trip with their and their spouse or a friend, and $500 cash. And so she announced it. We announced it at the Christmas party like we did every year. And she came up. She goes, well, Newt, as you call him in the warehouse, doesn't fly. They've never left Elk Grove, him and his wife. So what do you want to do? I said, then give him $2,500, and we're done. So as 20 years was approaching, they said, well, there's a bunch of 20 years. I said, well, hold on to that thought, because in about 3 weeks, we won't be around. So, and then the final thing was the last thing, and I encourage a lot of companies to do this, is the stock appreciation rights, phantom stock. If you have a core of people that are going to take you to the Super Bowl and win it, or like Joe Madden and his boys last night, take you to a World Series and win it, create a program that gives them, all it is a letter created by your attorney that says if we sell the company for X amount, you will get this. And I created a group, a core group that was with me forever, and they got the letter. And even, if you left the company, we would try to find somebody that we needed to keep to take us to the goal line and win the Super Bowl. And at the end of the day, we had about 10, 11, 12 people that had this letter. And after the money was wired, my partner and I took out about $865,000 to distribute to that group. Anywhere from $35,000 to $250,000 to one person. and they loved it. I just didn't finish what I wanted to do, which was not only hand them the check, but have a limo pick them up and meet me at Morton's in Rosemont, where I had a wine locker, and we had the opportunity to just like celebrate. But I mailed out the checks, and before I leave the screen, I'll just tell you that it was so much fun announcing to that group that it's time to read that letter that you have at home, because I said to my partner, I was the good cop, he was the bad cop. You know, if you got in trouble, you go to his office. And so I said, why don't you send out an email to each person, tell them to meet us in the conference room, and they're all going to sit there, and we'll give them about 10 minutes just to kind of look at each other and go, what are you doing here? You're not senior staff. You're in the warehouse. Why are we here? So that's what we did. Rob emailed everyone. They all thought they were in trouble. And the conference room was probably double this size. And they sat there. And I says, all right, let's go on in. And we announced, that we're in 2 weeks, we're selling off the company. Go home, read your letter, and thank you for your time and your devotion to the company. So it's important that you do take care of the employees. With the time remaining, let me go into this. Public relations, it's important. You can see that we got written up in Cranes. We got written up in the Daily Herald. I attached myself with a PR guy here, Dick Barton up in Park Ridge, who really made us as famous as we could be. As famous as we could be. Every other year, I was getting an article featured somewhere. And then within trade magazines, people were asking me to write articles. I did a lot of presentations to hundreds of people about the international mail industry, and of course had my salespeople out in the audience to capture the business. So get your PR machine going and get the recognition going. It's important. Nowadays, social media is very strong and significant to anyone looking to expand their business and capture new markets and capture sales in any business. Whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a startup of applications for phones, whatever it is that you're doing, understand how to use social media and utilize all types of social media. If you see in the upper right-hand corner, ROR seems to be the new acronym, Return on Relationships. Returning on relationships. That means that you are engaging in socially to business people or regular consumers and friends that get the word out for you. Once you engage and you expand in that engagement, business will come your way. When I speak on Google+, I just started my Google+ campaign probably about a year ago this last summer, and I'm up to 130 views on what I post. My Facebook page, I get usually anywhere from 75 to 100. When I speak personally on Facebook, I get 100 plus. On my LinkedIn, I provide information on LinkedIn, and I get good views and a lot of hits. This article was written up about the restaurant in California, and they were so impressed with how involved I was with Facebook. That's how they got the title, Facebook Meets Salted Rim. Because I wanted to get our restaurant involved in handheld consumers. Because the younger generation is living and breathing by their handheld devices and through social media. So I created a coupon and said, listen, if you show the coupon in our restaurant during these hours, this is what you get. So I increase sales through social media. And I think it's very important that you continue and never stop utilizing social media. I don't pay for social media, and you shouldn't either. Use the free part of it. But it is important. ROR will equal return on investment. I can't stress that enough. If you're not into social media, hire a millennial. Get somebody on board. Get your daughter, your son, anyone you can to teach you or let them do it for you. Pay them $15 an hour, whatever it is, just to engage and get up there. That's been one of the keys to my success as I move with different companies. I encourage everyone, and I speak about this often, is make sure as you grow the business that you are engaging your competitors that are eventually going to buy you out. My competitors were FedEx, UPS, Pitney Bowes, TNT, DHL, you name it, everybody was jumping into the industry. But I made sure everyone that was responsible for mergers and acquisitions saw my newsletter that I kicked out to my clients every month. Every time I got written up, I did a glossy and mailed it out to all the executives, to all these companies. And then, of course, when I got my award through the Business Ledger, which I understand got bought out, I made sure they got a copy of the award we received. So as you develop your company, make sure your competitors know who you are, especially if you want to sell. You'll see that as you grow and you see entrepreneurs and you see small business owners, there is a difference between a small business owner and an entrepreneur. Small business owners have a tendency of looking at the company long term. They will be there until their kids take it over. They'll be there until they're dead or until their wife takes it over or whatever. A small business owner is in it for a long time and usually wants to hand it off to family members. An entrepreneur like myself, like I said, we get bored pretty quickly and we want to move on. So as an entrepreneur, I've always looked for opportunities to exit and to move on to the next project. That's what I think a good takeaway is, are you a small business owner? And as you talk to small business owners, figure out if they're a small business owner or are they an entrepreneur like myself. You'll see the difference. Oh yes, they'll tell you, yes, my kids are going to take it over and I'm comfortable, I'm making my $500,000 and all that, and you know what, I just want to get back to the edge. I put this up because my attorney created a bunch of tombstones for me, and I didn't know what a tombstone was. And as you sell your company, I ask that you have them create a tombstone for you, because you're burying your company and selling it off to another company. I put this up there to talk about, if you're going to sell a company, find the right strategic buyer. The merger and acquisition team, I interviewed 3 of them. Found one here in Chicago, and my attorney was impressed that actually negotiated their rates. He says, you don't negotiate private, investment banking people. I said, well, Pitney Bowes, when they came to me, they called me, and I never forgot that. If they're going to call you, don't ever forget they want you more than you need them. Within 2 weeks of Pitney Bowes calling me, UPS called, said, we heard you're in play, we want to take you out. And because I controlled 7 states, somebody needed to take me out. So Pitney heard about that. They said, no, us or them, don't play this game. So we went down the path, got a merger and acquisition group together, and we didn't have to do the dog and pony show because we already had a buyer, and it was very easy. Within 5 months, the money was wired, and we were done. And then, like I said, bury your company with a tombstone. A perfect exit strategy, and this is hard to find, and it's a good story, and for some reason, it's been following me. But obviously, you want to get the highest multiple of your EBITDA and have no contractual obligation to the buyer. Most people will be stuck with 1 year, 2 or 3 years of employment because they didn't structure their company in a way that the company couldn't live without them after they sold the company. So if it goes back to the tag year principle and working less and making more. I would literally challenge my company and go out to our house in California and stay there for about a month and say, the place better be burning down or something's happening, don't bother me. Just challenge the employees. So the senior staff and middle management would all work together to execute what they needed to do every day so I could just be out there. And so when Pitney Bowes, during the final conversations that I had with him, they said, David, you did a good job. They said, the good news is the company ran without you. The bad news is we're going to run the company without you, and you're not needed anymore. I said, good. So at 47, try to get hit with early retirement and not having a real plan and having 5 months to figure out your life. So I was very fortunate that, and a friend of mine took this picture because I was so proud that we had parking spaces for me and my partner. It was not an ego thing. It was just like, yes, I pull up because all the employees would take up all the spaces. And I said, yes, WDS, one for me, one for my partner. Just leave me my spot there, okay? And everybody else can take up. And then when Pitney Bowes took over, they put their name up there. If, like I said early on, either you're an entrepreneur or you're a small business owner, if you have business cards like this and you have that many, it's a good indication you're a serial entrepreneur and you keep wanting to live on the edge and develop businesses. So understand the difference. And if you ever need any one-on-one time with me, I always give everyone an hour or two of my time free. So if you ever need any mentoring or consulting, this is what I do well. I don't have a real skill. The only skill and passion I have is just business. You can see it went from the solution. I Create the Buzz was my social media company. Our restaurant, I think I ate there twice a year. And when they served me a burrito, I made sure it looked like the stuff you get at Chipotle because I didn't like all the sauce and all that stuff. And they said, so why are you here? I said, just make the burrito the way I want it and we're good. Great White North was a Canadian company I built up in Livonia, Michigan, while I had World Distribution Services that I sold to Pitney. Great White North, we needed to sort Canadian mail, and I didn't know how to do it in Chicago at our facility. So we took over a facility up in Detroit, hired a bunch of people. I grabbed a partner from one of my competitors and said, let's form a partnership here. Let's figure out how to sort Canadian mail and take it across the border from Detroit into Windsor post office. So I created Great White North, had 7,500 square feet, about 48 employees, built up about a $7-8 million company within about 3 or 4 years. I ended up selling that company to my brother's company, who was my direct competitor, and that's another story. But my brother was my direct competitor for about 10 years or so. And they bought out that company because they needed a Canadian processing center near Canada. So I sold that off to them, made my money, and just went back to World Distribution. I mean, I always had World, but I set up the Canadian shop in the back of my warehouse. So you can see if you're an entrepreneur, and if you're a serial entrepreneur, you'll have stories like that. This is important to me, and I don't want to get too deep into it. I'm not, I'm Jewish, and when I mention my name to a lot of people, it's so funny I'm doing this because they'd say, "Oh, good Irish name." I go, "Okay, yeah." that was a line when I would tell people. They'd say, "Oh yeah, Rosenberg, good Irish name. You own the company, right?" Okay. And when he asked me, I go, "I need to use that line because I hear that all the time." But anyway, I have a big believer in faith. If you read what Napoleon Hill talks about, faith removes limitations. I never took this. I never took the credit for my success. Never, and I still don't. I always believed in my Creator guiding me down a path. I've never been lucky. That's why I don't play the lottery. I don't do Vegas because I'm just not lucky. I'm just blessed, and I'm a big believer that every day I wake up, my Creator kind of gives me the path and leads me down the direction to take. And every day, not a day goes by without thanking God for who I am. And but yes, accept what is, let go of whatever the heck was in the past, and have faith in what will be. And that's the only thing I'll say about that is don't underestimate the power of faith. You can't. For some reason, we always go back to it on our deathbed or when we're sick. And I always incorporate that into my life. After you reach a real comfortable level of success, it is your obligation to give back like I'm doing now. And I try to reach out and find anybody in any organization that would like me to speak, donate my time as a mentor, or do what I'm doing here, because it's my way of just giving back to society. And in Chicago, I know we talked earlier, but in Chicago, there's so many opportunities to become an entrepreneur, to find angel investment money, to find venture capital. There's 1871. There's organizations like 1871 for the movie industry. There's 1871 types of incubators for the manufacturing business now. So find opportunities to give back once you have made your success. And that's important. It's important. That's what I'm doing now. And Gandhi, you know, he was a big believer in throwing himself in the services of others, and that's what I've been doing up to this point, is throwing myself to the services of others. So that's important, that you understand that it's not about, and you can see it from the likes of Bill Gates and what people are doing with their wealth. And I'm not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm comfortable, and my wife and I are comfortable. And I'm doing everything I can to give back. And you mentioned pitch sessions. I'm being asked to be a judge at pitch sessions because I've heard so many stories and seen so many startups that it's, I just find this to be more entertaining now, and I don't take it as seriously because I've been there, I've done it, and now I'm just trying to help others in their success.